So what is Quest 64?
The mystery, the magic, the game. Quest 64, the new adventure RPG for Nintendo 64.
Ooh.
Get in or get out.
The Nintendo 64 was well represented in almost every genre of game, even with some of the old partners bolting to work with the fledgling PS1 instead. Can you guess what genre was noticeably absent from the platform? No, screw you. Killer Instinct Gold and Fighter's Destiny was awesome. If you said RPG, you'd be correct. For as legendary as the Super Nintendo was for RPGs, the Nintendo 64 was noticeably bare, with Nintendo's main dealer Squaresoft bolting for Sony's console for the Final Fantasy series. You know what Nintendo got to compete with that? Quest 64. Yeah. Quest 64 was released in 1998 by Imagineer and THQ on the N64. This was the first RPG released for the console. Yes, before 1998, no RPGs existed on the system. And this was the only consolation for those craving those type of games. An action-based RPG, you control Master Brian, an apprentice mage who ventures out in the world to find his father who went after a thief that stole the legendary object of MacGuffin called the L-Tale Book. In order to track down his father, Brian, who I need to remind you is a child, must bum it from town to town, fighting random monsters, talking to strangers, and steadily gathering the 4 gems of the elements that were stolen by thieves to satisfy whole kingdoms and keep the environment itself in order. Tough childhood. The gameplay of Quest 64 is split up into field exploration and battle mode. Outside of battle, you can run throughout the world and towns, going into houses and talking to the various locals who may or may not have anything useful to say. Unlike most RPGs, there is no money in this world, meaning no shops to buy equipment. Since you don't equip any armor or weapons, the only other thing you can gain in the world are items, which you can get from many chests, enemy drops, or even given to you if you ask someone real nice. These items are almost all used inside battle, such as healing HP, healing MP, boosting stats, escaping from battle, etc. The only items made strictly for out of battle are the various wings you can receive, which insta-teleports you back to previously visited towns. Random encounters can happen at any time outside of towns and buildings, at any moment. You could be walking peacefully and with no transition whatsoever, bam, battle music starts and you're facing various abominations. When battles start, you are immediately surrounded by 2 wired barriers, one blue and one yellow, and your enemies. The blue barrier represents your movement space, which you can move all about until you use a move or in your turn. And the yellow represents the battle area, which stays static until you in turn outside of it, at which point you can run from the battle. But yeah, battle. You can use each of the 4 elements and the expanded spell tree to attack or cast a support spell. For example, at the start, you can use fire, which is a straight line ball of fire, earth, which is a long range splash attack, water, which is a close range power attack, and wind, a multi-hit homing attack. As you defeat enemies, you'll eventually get enough experience and will be prompted to level up one of the elements. Each element goes from 1 to 50, and each time you level up, you can increase the level one at a time. As each element levels up, the spells get more powerful, and at certain levels, new spells will unlock, such as more attacks, self-healing, status attacks, buffing, and debuffing. You can also smack the shit out of enemies with your stick if you're close enough, but it's not recommended long term. You can also level up your elements by finding these little white spirits in the overworld. They trigger an instant level up, but good luck seeing them sometimes if it isn't completely obvious because the graphics can get you lost. Unless you grind, you have to pick and choose what elements to prioritize putting points in. Enemies are all based around the elements as well, so you have your strengths and weaknesses. But the important priority are the new spells you can learn. I can tell you right now, water is the safest bet to prioritize first. Why? It's the only magic tree with a healing spell. Unless you level up water, you're left with depending on items to heal HP, which besides some NPCs that will give you only 1 if you don't have any, are finite depending on hidden chests and enemy drops. All of the other elements have their own advantages and disadvantages, but besides water, you should really try and specialize in one other element, rock. Trust me, and every now and again, give points to the others. So that's how you level up your magic. Now, what about your other stats? Cause this is an RPG, so what about everything else? Well, have you heard of a little game called Final Fantasy II? If you just felt a cold shudder going down your back, your feelings are justified. Cause just like Final Fantasy II, each stat is leveled up individually depending on your actions. Want to raise your defense? Let the enemy beat the crap out of you. Want to raise your agility? Run around the overworld in a circle like an idiot. And yes, all of the stats are like that, and yes, it's very annoying. This isn't helped that the game feels like a tape on repeat. Go to the next area, fight random battles, find town, go to the dungeon, fight the boss, and repeat. No, literally, the game is really just like this. This isn't as grating if you take breaks between playing, but trying to play this game in long stretches will cause you to react with pain whenever another random battle pops up. The lack of reason to explore except for healing items and spirits outright handicaps this game, which, when added on to the overall grind, holds this game back from being a standout on the platform, which is why RPGs in general just weren't notable on the Nintendo 64. While the soundtrack helps you bear with the mindless grind, being in fear of playing the game isn't something the game should brag about. But if you have a guide to help you, you should help yourself to the wonderful world of L-Tale. This game gets 2 spirits out of 5. Fudge. No, I did the wrong spell. Oh shit. I might die here. Fuck me. I have to go back to the beginning.